Education is not the filling of a pot, but the lighting of a fire. With this quote, I wish a very good afternoon. It's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to you all. On behalf of our chairman, managing director, staff and students of GIBS BSchool, I, Lakshmi RB, Assistant Dean, extend a very warm welcome to all the dignitaries, participants, and my fellow colleagues. Please allow me to talk a few words about GIBS Business School before we begin. Global Institute of Business Studies is a place where talents are nurtured, ambitions are cherished, ideas are shared, and dreams are fulfilled. GIBS Business School is a part of Goel Educational Trust, which is an exclusive business school. GIBS Business School provides an AICTE approved PGDM program and a BBA from Bangalore University. To create students' successful careers, GIBS introduced a number of unique programs like Innovation, Research and Entrepreneurship School, Finishing School, and Business Mastery Program, etc. Since the inception, GIBS has an excellent placement track record. GIBS students have been determined to be industry ready by the majority of the MNCs. Throughout the course, the institute ensures that there is a proper balance of practical and theoretical knowledge to be shared with the students. GIBS Business School has been recently awarded as a teaching learning efficiency by India's top prestigious higher education and university awards 2021-22. In 2021, GIBS has been ranked AAA by Career 360, 11th Emerging B School by Times of India, 19th Best B School of Eminence in India, and 12th Best B School in Karnataka by Competitive Success Review. GIBS also feathered by Forbes India as a New Age B School and Best Emerging B School by Outlook 2022. GIBS has introduced a series of free national and international webinars, leadership talk series, and panel discussions on trending topics. GIBS is spreading the light of knowledge, aims to bridge the gap between the classroom learning and the ground realities of the business world by inviting national level and international level leaders to share their thoughts and who are also industry experts and academic luminaries and entrepreneurs. As a part of the initiative today, we are conducting the MDP, Management Development Program. The flow of the event for today follows like this. The first session is by Mr. Soumyadeep Sir on Internet of Things and Industry 4.0. And the second session is the panel discussion on digital technology management for business excellence. The Q&A will be taken at the end of every session. Let's start the program with the blessings of Almighty. May I request Ms. Tara Prakash to render the prayer and to seek the blessings of the Almighty.
ಮೊದಲು ನಮಿಸುವೆ ಗಣನಾಥಾಯನ್ನ ಹೃದಯದಿ ನೆಲೆಸೋ ಗಣನಾಥಾಯನ್ನ ಹೃದಯದಿ ನೆಲೆಸೋ ಗಣನಾಥ ಆದಿಯಲಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಆರಾಧಿಸಿದರೆ ಸಕಲ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಸಿದ್ಧಿಯಾಗುವುದಯ್ಯ ಆದಿಯಲಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಆರಾಧಿಸಿದರೆ ಸಕಲ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಸಿದ್ಧಿಯಾಗುವುದಯ್ಯ ನಿನ್ನನು ಮರೆತವರಿಗೆ ಜಯವಿಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬಿರುವೆ ನೀನು ಈ ಜಗವಿಲ್ಲ ಮೊದಲು ನಮಿಸುವೆ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ವಿನಾಯಕ ಸದ್ಗುಣಾಭರಣ ಅದ್ಭುತ ಮಹಿಮಾ ಹೇ ಗಜವದನ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ವಿನಾಯಕ ಸದ್ಗುಣಾಭರಣ ಅದ್ಭುತ ಮಹಿಮಾ ಹೇ ಗಜವದನ ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣಾನಂದಾರ್ಚಿತ ಚರಣ ಏಕದಂತ ಲೋಕ ಶೋಕ ವಿನಾಶನ ಮೊದಲು ನಮಿಸುವೆ ಗಣನಾಥ ಎನ್ನ ಹೃದಯದಿ ನೆಲೆಸೋ ಗಣನಾಥ ಎನ್ನ ಹೃದಯದಿ ನೆಲೆಸೋ ಗಣನಾಥ.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for invocating the blessings of Almighty through your prayer. The difference between successful people and other is not lack of strength or lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will. It's time to know our speaker for the day, Mr. Soumyadeep Chakravarti, who is an IIMB alumni, GIBS faculty, and head of operations, OBO entrepreneur, growth hacker, and speaker. Let me take this opportunity to introduce Sir. Sir is an electric engineer and PGDM from IIM Bangalore by background. He brings to the table more than 16 years of experience across business development, strategic planning, business process reengineering and transitioning, account management, change management, and execution of various projects. He has worked for almost a decade in Big Four consulting ecosystem and worked across multiple geographies, including India, Bangladesh, USA, China, and Uzbekistan. While building presence in Eastern India for different Big Four firms, government and PSU agencies in East and Northeast have been a major focus areas for him. He has a strong relationship with the commercial taxes, exercise, and social welfare departments. He has worked in both team as well as individual driven environments and been comfortable in driving the various strategic and business KPIs for a territory or for the entire organization. He has rich experience in carrying out conceptual selling and been trained in Miller-Hyman methodologies for strategic opportunity management, commensurate for driving consultative selling. His strength lies in building business practices in management consulting and digital space. Despite a successful and decorated corporate career, he never lost touch with academia. He had been associated with a number of established business schools across India, to mention few: IIT KGP, IEM, Amity, Kolkata, ISBN-M, IMS, IMT, ASB Hyderabad, Watson School of Business, Hyderabad. He had taught a number of marketing and strategy papers, as well as conducted many workshops targeted towards grooming and confidence building, mock interviews, career guidance, etc. He's also playing a vital role in GIBS as a visiting professor and also as a guide and mentor for our students. I welcome you for the session, sir. It's time to hear from you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much and very good afternoon, everybody. Thanks a lot, Lakshmi ma'am, for the kind introduction.
Thank you, sir.
So without further ado, I'll quickly take my screen and the presentation part. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, excellent. First of all, thank you very much to GIBS management and leadership for giving me the wonderful opportunity to address on a particular topic which is very close to my heart. A number of years in my entire experience has hovered around digital transformation, which is the top part of this particular slide that anybody can see. And Internet of Things, or IoT and Industry 4.0, is nothing but a subset of that particular area. So it will be really interesting to share some of my experience and really understand how digital transformation and IoT or Industry 4.0, so to say, how they are different, how one is a subset or the superset of another, and how they are creating some of the very interesting business dynamics and ecosystem around us. So as the session goes today, I have kind of planned to structure it in this way, but we will see, we'll play it by the ear, depending on how the session goes, whether we have any questions or how the explanation goes, so to say. However, from a structure perspective, I'm planning to, just a little bit of introduction about myself, though Lakshmi ma'am has been really kind enough to introduce. I would like to just highlight which are the specific sections, which are very relevant in my experience with Industry 4.0. Then we are going to take a deep dive into digital transformation, because as I mentioned, digital transformation is a superset, so to say, and Industry 4.0 or IoT are basically the subsets into that particular superset. Then very importantly, why digital transformation? Then finally, how this percolates to Industry 4.0. And within Industry 4.0, what is IoT or Internet of Things or IIoT or Industrial Internet of Things? Then the basic architecture of IoT, and finally, some of the softwares and some of the applications that we can see around us. So this is roughly the structure for the day or for this particular session. So yes, as mentioned, I did my engineering from a place called Jadavpur University. Maybe some of the participants would be joined Tata Motors in the year 2003. After a couple of years over there, I got a chance to work in the PLC programming directly because these days, digital transformation was not yet in vogue, but there were a lot of instrumentation and electronics application that I got a chance to work in. So I did in Siemens, and after that, 2006 to 8, it was a full-time PGDM with IIM Bangalore. In both, marketing, and I took some technology-related papers as well. From the campus, I started my journey with the Big Four. My first company was PwC, and I joined one of the divisions called, Business Intelligence. The Business Intelligence was the earlier avatar of analytics, or artificial intelligence, as we say today. Since then, my journey has started around the various elements of digital transformation with Ernst & Young, where I worked across the different geographies. And of course, I did that in PwC as well. And same I continued with KPMG, where I was one of the leaders of the analytics practice in the Eastern India. And then I shifted my bets to US, where I worked with one of the consulting companies called Data Consultants Corporation, supported their business, starting their business in different geographies like US, India, as well as in Bangladesh. In 2019, I had a brief stint of about 9-10 months, to work in my own company. So I started my consulting company and then really enjoyed working, and it was full of learning. In my last corporate role, which happened immediately after this, was around, it was a role of a CDO, of Chief Digital Officer. It was with one of the premier solar panel manufacturing companies who are also in the business of EPC, at the same time the operations and maintenance business of the solar panels. So it was another interesting journey where implemented the IoT solutions, AI, ML, number of use cases and all. And presently I'm wearing multiple hats, whereby I'm working in a digital native startup called Obo. Obo is nothing but a storytelling platform where B2C, conversion happens. Along with that, I'm also associated with a number of business schools, and GIBS is one of them, where I'm working very closely with the students and with the management as well. So this is briefly about myself. So the participant, you can rest assured the topic that we are going to talk about, this is one area which is very close to my heart, which is about technology, and which is about how technology can be deployed to create a lasting value in the present business scenario. So some facts about digital transformation, if we may say, there have been a number of speculations. Some of these pointers that I have highlighted, these were the data points were taken from 2020, where people mentioned that the volume of data will grow multifold, a number of technologies will come, number of devices will increase, number of computation powers, that will get increased, digital ecosystem will come, startups will get formed. And why it is very interesting to really hover through all these predictions is that in reality, the business scenario has actually superseded or exceeded all these predictions. So today, be it in terms of the generation of the data, be it in terms of plethora of the new devices getting added, be it in terms of the clouds or the hybrid cloud that has been deployed, or be it in the form of the new startups which got formed on the wing of digital transformation, all of these parameters, the reality has exceeded the prediction. So therefore, we are 100% into the area of digital transformation. Any business that we talk of, whether these businesses are brick and mortar kind of business, they are still looking for another backbone which will be digital, or at the same time, we are having a number of digital age startup for whom Digital is the media to reach out to the customers to really make their operations stick around. Now, while we talk about digital transformation, it is very important that the few terms we actually get in order. However, in the industry, these terms are used rather little lightly. For example, we talk about digitization, digitalization, digital transformation. All these words get articulated interchangeably. But I thought that while I'm setting the context, let us a little bit understand about how these terms are and how they're different from each other. If you talk about the entire journey of an organization towards digital transformation, I think the first step comes as a digitization, where you have the information or the data in the various forms. They all are not necessarily in the form of digital, right? So you digitize them and you create something like a digital data repository, or you create the data. These data can be your past transaction data, which are captured in one form or the other in the ERP. It can also be some of the pictures that you take of the finished products. Okay, so A, you digitize your information or the data points, and B, you organize the information, right? So it may do the tagging. For example, you capture the images which are correct images versus the images which are for the faulty products, right? So these two steps together is called digitization. The second big step or a leap is basically called digitalization. Now, digitalization actually hovers around how can we change our processes, or how can we automate some of the processes which will now automatically generate the digital data. These data points can be related to the process parameters. These points or this particular step can also happen based on taking inputs through certain sensors and therefore giving the feedback through a feedback loop to the process. And Industry 4.0 or IoT, which is the main topic of the day, actually hovers around this particular process a lot. So we are talking about digitalization, where we are streamlining the process, where we are automating the process, and therefore we are again creating a number of data points. The third step, which is now called the digital transformation, which is about what are we doing with all these automated processes and the plethora of the data that they are generating. Remember, we are getting a number of data points related to our machines which are running, our different devices that which are there on the office floor, or maybe on the shop floor in the factory, or maybe some of the data points that we are capturing from the customer interactions with our various channels, maybe as a part of our WhatsApp campaign, or maybe when they are actually taking a call with our call center people, right? So what we are doing, what kind of information or what kind of knowledge we are garnering out of all these data points, and how is it really helping the business? So this is one part of the digital transformation. Some aspect or some other aspect can also hover around how can we expedite our engineering design process, okay? Or how can we take away the non-cerebral part of the work, which is very mundane and manual labor intensive, and give a very exciting environment to the internal people. So when we talk about digital transformation as a whole, digital transformation can address a number of stakeholders. It can address your internal business processes and the operators. It can also hover around your suppliers. It can hover around your customers largely, and at the same time, your entire manufacturing process. Or maybe the regulators who are basically demanding a much more transparent way of operations and data-driven operations these days. So this is about digital transformation, which is the final step of taking after digitization, digitalization. All right. Let us move quickly to the little bit demystifying the word digital transformation. So what it looks like today, what I just mentioned, I'm focusing more on the left-hand side, which is pictorial and easy to register. We are talking about digital transformation in the form of empowering the employees. These are nothing but the results or the manifestation of right deployment of digital transformation. You engage with respect to your customers, you optimize your operations, and you transform your product as a whole. All these things taken together, along with the systems intelligence, can give you the true benefit of digital transformation. While doing the same, there can also be some of the other areas which are there. For example, how the technology elements are coming together, how the conversation can be automated, how artificial intelligence can come together, how the neural network can come together, how the networking can happen, how the cybersecurity can work on this entire portfolio. So all these things are nothing but the individual pieces of the puzzle. When they fall in place, you have what is there in the upper portion of this particular diagram, which is a true embodiment or the impact of digital transformation. So the $1 million questions, or rather the $1 billion questions that comes, is why digital transformation? Okay. The reason being, there are 2-3 areas of enablement. We will definitely talk about why digital transformation from the enablement perspective, but let us understand a little bit about the business side of it. Okay. So today, business is increasingly demand more agile and hybrid services. Business is not coming, the sales team is not coming to the IT team or the technology team and saying that, hey, I need some kind of agile methodology. No, they are not saying that. They're saying rather, I need to know what is the efficacy of my particular marketing campaign. I need to know if a particular raw material is not coming up today, how is it going to impact my response to the market or to the demand of a particular product? I need to know the dollar which is getting lost if my supply chain is not properly tuned up. I need to know the cost for poor quality or COPQ of certain defects that may have occurred in the past and will occur in the future. I need to know when a particular machine is undergoing a breakdown. So interestingly, you see, it is not only about what happened in the past, but it is also about what is happening right now at this moment. And based on that, what can happen in the future. So the different functions are increasingly getting more and more demanding, and the business is as a whole is getting more demanding. So digital transformation provides the valuable opportunity to the core business functions, such as finance, HR, etc., to move away from the manual processes. Because today the employees are saying, I need to do more cerebral work. I have already learned, I have taken a particular course, and we all are living in the gig economy because of the pandemic, right? IT is actually seeing unprecedented attrition. Today, the organizations are trying to understand what is going to be the attrition for me over the next 6 months so that we can retrain or create a new set of employees who will replace the people who are about to leave my organization. So you see the change. Previously, we used to see a much increased loyalty among the employees. Came the time when people were leaving and the companies were there to replace them. And today it is happening such a rapid pace that the companies are no longer waiting the attrition to hit them. They're trying to say, how can I measure the impact in advance? How can I identify those people who are about to leave so that we can retain them, or we may be retraining them and create a different set of job role for them. This is just one or two of such experience. The practical scenario is much more complicated and therefore much more interesting. So again, we come back and we really ask, why digital transformation now? Okay, we have understood that the business scenario is completely different and it is being more rapid, dynamic, and demanding. But on the other hand, this situation was there, but previously we did not have so much of data points or so many data points. For example, if you had asked a CMO or chief marketing officer about 10 years back, 15 years back, what would you like to know about your customer? They would say probably the same thing as people would say today. They would say that I want to get into the head of my customer, really understand how he is selecting my product or how he is perceiving my product vis-a-vis a competitor's product. But what happened today is that the customers themselves or their demographics have changed completely. We are talking about geographic change, we're talking about demographic, psychographic, and behavioral. So more than geographic, demographic, psychographic, and behavioral have changed. Today, we are talking about micro segmentation. Today, we are distributing the customers based on the time they are spending over internet, the kind of devices they're using. Therefore, my website should be available on web. Today, we are talking about understanding how much time a customer is spending on each and every page of my website, right? From there, it is helping me understand which of the pages or whether my landing page needs any kind of makeover or not. So today we are generating huge amount of data. These data are variable in the form of variety, veracity, volume, and at the same time complexity as well. So therefore, these data are also giving us an opportunity to really analyze them and bring out the insight out of it, which probably 10-15 years back, because there were not too many devices or not too many interventions with digital, it was not possible. On the other hand, data computing, the speed at which I can analyze this data, that have also increased thanks to the advent of cloud and the number of new players who entered into this particular space and the number of startups which have also started operating in this space. And general knowledge of digital transformation, as I mentioned, that has also increased. So the people who were the traditional IT mindset, they have realized that IT is anyway an enabler. But now what we can do differently, standing on that infrastructure, is phenomenal for the business. So today we are talking about the chief digital officers or CIOs reporting directly to the MD, and they are securing their seat in the boardroom. Okay. So we are talking about SMACIT, which is about social, mobile, analytics, cloud, and IoT, is a concept where convergence of 5 technologies or 6 technologies, they're coming up and therefore spurring the innovation. And of course, if we talk about digital native businesses, for example, e-business or e-portals, there you have all about cloud, all about performance, all about marrying the brick and mortar concept of delivery around the same time, the digital intervention. So we are living in a very interesting time, friends, today. So in total, if I may sum up all these points, data is a key pillar of the digital transformation. There is no doubt about it. And every interaction in the digital world is generating the data. It is helping us deliver the real time for the quick decision-making data points. And of course, it is generating the intelligence also in the form of predictive and prescriptive. For example, today, we are not only happy about how much time the customer spent or the customer took to get converted. Today, we are talking of if we want to do or carry on with the same marketing mix, what is the propensity of the customer to get converted and really come to me from my competitor, right? So which we call generally the predictive. The next level comes is that therefore, what should be the mix of the various digital campaigns that we are running so that I get Y amount of or Y number of additional customers. That becomes a scenario mapping, or in analytics term, we call them prescriptive analytics, or it creates a mix of what should be the strategic elements put together to get a desired result. So you see, your digital transformation is now becoming a key element of your business strategy, right? So it is no longer an IT thing anymore. It is more about your very important element to the success of your organization and to the success of your digital roadmap. We also spoke about computation, and I'll focus a little bit on the right-hand side, which are the images. Of course, through the college, we can share these slides so people can really go through it. I would like to focus on the top portion of the right side, where we are talking about the different steps. We are today talking about the sensors. We're talking about imaging, spectrography, microscopy, depending on the different types of products that is getting generated. We are talking about the input-output system, the computing platforms, developing the scalable algorithm once you have the corresponding data, and then you build the different models and get a particular output. So therefore, we are working in a particular field where we are empowering and we are optimizing and we are also performing and meeting the business requirement. These are some of the facts about digital transformation. As I mentioned, today we are talking about the overall context, which is pretty dynamic in the business. And on the same time, we are talking about the strategy and the technology. These are the interventions, and with the help of DH, there is a clear segregation of the companies which are really playing digital to their advantage, and they're really the top brass of the people or the players. The next one is about SMAC. I think I don't have to really explain this. So we are talking about the social media, the burst of the huge amount of social media related data that has come up, the mobile based apps and the number of interactions creating huge amount of data and therefore creating the opportunity. Analytics, which is basically working on the plethora of the data to bring out the intelligence, and cloud, where the entire infrastructure is getting addressed. And along with that, we are talking about IoT, which is touching our life, be it my smart home, or be it my Alexa, or be it my entire shop floor, which is actually helping me to understand what is going to be the scenario mapping for the individual devices if I take care of certain elements or certain parameters online. We can create digital twin together, right? So if I just get some of the startling numbers, 26.66 billion IoT devices in 2019 were active. Remember, that was just the kind of beginning of the pandemic. Today that number is very close to around 40 billion. So last 3 years, that has almost doubled, okay? And there has been a huge increase in the adoption of the IoT projects in the shop floor. By 2025, there will be 75 billion of the IoT devices in the world, and that number is already very quickly getting achieved. 127 new devices are connected every second to the internet. Probably the number has increased over there as well. So overall, if you really look at IoT, there are two clear segregation. One is IoT, one is the IIoT or industrial IoT. And both the areas, both the arms are really driving a huge number of adoption of overall industry 4.0. So we still probably the last slide around digital transformation before we take a deep dive straight into industry 4.0. Digital transformation, of course, it has got a number of benefits, and that's why people are really using it today. It reduces the cost of poor quality. It really reduces the time to go to the market. It improves the operational efficiency. It empowers a number of important decision making, and it also drives the corresponding culture around the organization. And these are nothing but a few areas or the few support areas. So it transforms the customer experience. It gives more data-based insight. It creates greater collaboration and improved agility and innovation. So that's about digital transformation. Now, if we talk about digital transformations levers, the areas or the main drivers for digital transformation, we will see primarily 4 buckets. One is the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. This is very critical element of it. The second bucket is industry 4.2, where industry 4.2 helps in higher efficiency, quality, and work productivity, and it eventually results in the customer satisfaction. Because remember, if my plant availability increases, then my adherence to the schedule is also important. Excuse me. And if I can connect my devices, that really supports my real-time decision making, and it helps me reduce my cost of poor quality, right? Similarly, digital consulting, which also helps the organizations bring everything in perspective, right? And robotic process automation, which helps the organizations to really optimize, some of the non-value adding activities, removing them and automating some of the activities which are non-cerebral, time consuming, and at the same time, they are repetitive in nature. So these are the 4 major drivers. Apart from this, there are also elements, for example, augmented reality, virtual reality, etc. So now, friends, we are getting to something interesting, which is about Industry 4.0. We are talking about the fourth industrial revolution, right? So the important question that comes is that what are the other three industrial revolutions? Well, the Industry 1.0, as we say, it basically started with the introduction of mechanization or the application of the steam power. James Watt really applying, the steam engine, and then the application of that in the factory. That basically marked as the, the first industrial revolution. The second industrial revolution, and a lot of people really give the credit to Mr. Henry Ford or the Ford Motors and Company, where they started the mass production. The concept of assembly line actually came into being. And also they started using the electrical energy instead of the mechanical energy, in the shop floor. But of course, it was a mass production. As Mr. Ford once mentioned, you can get any color of Ford car as long as it is black. So it's a mass production, and these are basically, a standardized form of the end product. Then we had somewhere around 1969, 1970, around that time, almost 50 years back, we got into Industry 3.0, which was marked by a large scale application of automation, be it, a kind of industrial robotics, the early stage robotics, and the application of computers and a number of electronic devices. So computers came into being, mechanical arms came into being, and that marked a huge increase in the productivity. The fourth industrial revolution, where we are right now, is where we are talking about cyber physical system. So remember, now we have the automated system, right? So now we are having an ecosystem where both physical systems and the cyber systems, they are now interacting with each other. And it is happening quite seamlessly thanks to the advent of cloud and the huge number of data points that is getting generated. So today we are not only talking about our equipment getting or coming under breakdown, right? And how much time it is taking us. We are not talking about really reduction of mean time between failures, or increase in the mean time between failures and reduction in mean time to repair. We are rather talking of how can we eradicate the failure at all. Okay, and that can happen when you can accurately predict when a particular equipment is coming under a breakdown. We are talking about, without mixing the production elements, we are talking about how the quality will look like if we mix certain elements together. We are designing the product before even creating a prototype, right? So this is where the cyber physical systems is coming into being. And that is possible only thanks to the huge amount of data points getting generated, and at the same time, the cloud infrastructure which is there, and the compute power that we have in order to support the entire decision making. Moving on quickly. Little verbose slide, but stay with me on that. The concept itself originated in Germany. That's why it is also alternatively called as Industry 4.0. It is used to describe the data-driven, AI-powered, networked smart factories, right? Because it is data-driven, and at the same time, all these predictive and the prescriptive models can come into being only when we apply artificial intelligence, machine learning, or data science into this, the huge amount of data, right? So they are not in isolation. There is no Chinese wall between AI, machine learning, and at the same time, Industry 4.0. But rather, AI is also a subset in a way, not completely a subset, but at least it is a great contributor into the Industry 4.0 revolution. And the transition of the machines that took place based on the following principles. Number one is that the pervasive networking of people, machines, and things. And therefore, this is called the Internet of Things. Then leveraging the data through the tools and systems, and therefore creating the production efficiency and flexibility. And of course, increasing the product quality by improving the speed to market. And therefore, AI assisted and data-driven planning, production, manufacturing, and maintenance. So therefore, today we are talking about the entire 360-degree ecosystem of physical and the cyber systems, which are coming together not only to improve the productivity, not only to improve the current quality of the product, but also to create or predict the future elements of the manufacturing system, which are going to determine in a very safe and secured manner how the future will look like. Now, here are the following 9 pillars of Industry 4.0, so to say. These are nothing but the cloud and infrastructure. These are also the mechanical equipments. I'm starting from the bottom part of it. We are talking about virtual reality and augmented reality, which is actually helping us how the product will look like before even creating the prototype, right? It is also telling us what is the pressure point in a particular stringer machine or in a particular boiler machine, just looking at the particular machine using a particular glass. Or it is also helping us all the machines and the manual data coming in the cloud. Horizontal and the vertical system integration. When we talk about horizontal integration, we are basically talking about individual equipments or individual machines in a common manufacturing platform. When we talk about vertical system integration, we are talking not only about a particular machine, but we are talking about the controller which is driving that machine. And we are also talking about the individual data points which are getting generated. For example, 2 different points to come and do a spot welding, you need to have almost 20 different mechanical devices which will operate by sensing certain data that there is a particular part which has come, then it will trigger one particular element, so on and so forth. Okay, so we are talking about both horizontal and vertical system integration and making it a part of my entire shop floor and entire architecture. Based on these data points, we are talking about simulation. Okay, it eases the training of a number of people, right? In my past experience, we created a number of simulation-driven training programs, and that achieved reduction in the training time by almost 80%. Then we are talking about autonomous robots and how we can quickly change over from one setting to another. And all these things taken together is creating big data and analytics. And finally, because you are now having a number of your data points in the cloud, so cybersecurity has become a part and parcel of the life. So these are, friends, in total, around 9 enablers or 9 key drivers for Industry 4.0. And of course, Internet of Things is just one part of it, right? You can see there are many other drivers or elements into this. So if we are talking now about Industry 4.0, and which is a part of the digital transformation or which enables digital transformation, we are talking about 2 interesting areas. In the left-hand side, in the bottom part, you see that there is something called a technology push. And on the other hand, on the right-hand top, you're seeing something called a market pull, right? So technology push, when technology is really improving a lot, there are smart cell phones, which you can just put on a, provided it has got a few software, you can actually point it towards a particular device and it will give you all the details about a particular equipment, so that you can just roam around and you can find out what is the running condition of the individual machines, when a particular machine is undergoing or predicted to undergo a breakdown, so that the timely action can be taken, right? We can also talk about smartphone, where or smart home, where with the help of a smartphone, I can drive a number of activities inside my house. While I'm driving and I'm not yet in my home, I can still switch on my smart sensor enabled air conditioning machine, right? Or my Alexa can start playing a beautiful music, which I would like to hear the moment I enter my own apartment. We also have smart car, where a number of, depending on the mood and all, I can carry out a conversational triggering of the music. But all these things taken together really creates a havoc when you have the connected shop floor, when you have the real value of IoT getting unlocked through industrial IoT. Roughly the basic architecture of the IoT, and this part is very interesting. I would like to take probably a couple of minutes in this. We talk about the bottom portion, from there we will go up, okay? We talk about the sensors and controllers. Remember, we are talking about IoT in an industrial setup, let's say. You have got multiple devices. Some of those devices are manual, some of them are semi-manual, and some of them are automatic, right? Now, For the semi-manual and the manual, you really need to collect the data. But because they're semi-manual or manual, you really don't have any digital form of the data, right? So there comes your digitization and digitalization into picture, right? Where you need to really capture and convert some of the data with the help of certain sensors, into the digital form of the data, right? And as I said, that there may be various pressure sensor, motion sensor, proximity sensor, or some visual sensors also, which will help capture the corresponding data. Now, there will be some equipments or some machinery which are automatic in nature, which are, let's say, PLC driven, which can really communicate with respect to your cloud or the internet or Internet of Things software, which is sitting on the topmost side, right? Now, how they communicate? They communicate through the various protocols, and there are multiple protocols over there. Some of them are like Modbus protocol, TCP/IP protocol, and there are many more. Okay. Now they usually, communicate with help of each other with the help of something called a digital gateway. Now, on the other hand, there may also be certain edge devices which will capture the data and process a large portion of the data. An edge device is something which can capture the data, store it locally, and therefore process it to give some of the intelligence. Okay. So that you don't have to really wait all the data points to go to the cloud, then assess the data or massage the data, and therefore triggering an action. So some of the activities which really require quick intervention, for example, a pressure point in, let's say, a toxic material, right? So if there you sense that there is a leakage or there is a sudden drop of pressure, immediately the action needs to happen. And imagine that if the data goes all the way to the cloud and suddenly there is a snag here. So that means your corresponding controller will not be able to take the right action in time, right? So therefore, you need certain times the edge devices, which will store the local data, process the data, and therefore take the necessary action, which will be there. And for most of the other data points, through LAN or WAN, they will get connected to the cloud, where the entire software will run, or the industry of IoT or IIoT software will be running, and it will give the corresponding dashboard, be it descriptive analytics or the predictive models based on the predictive and prescriptive analytics. So this is, in a nutshell, the entire architecture. Of course, the architecture goes like on pages and really complicated in the real life scenario. I thought despite that, I'll bring this to really make you understand how at a very high level this entire architecture looks like. Friends, when we talk about the software, there are plenty of solutions and applications which are there in the marketplace today. We are talking about some of the leading softwares, for example, PTC. PTC has got a product called ThingWorks, which is one of the leaders by Gartner analysis in the marketplace. We also are talking about Azure IoT, Oracle IoT Cloud, AWS IoT, etc. We also have products like IBM Watson, or some of the new age products which are startup like Altizon or BrainCube kind of product. Siemens, Hitachi, TI System, they also have their own IoT solutions. Sometimes these IoT solutions really work on cloud. Sometimes they work along with their own data system or data gathering tools or data gateways. Okay, and definitely, because not a single size fits everybody. So therefore, IoT application or IoT implementation also calls for experienced implementation partners. So finally, we come back to the entire way of putting everything together. When you talk about digital transformation, Industry 4.0 and IoT, digital transformation is a superset, where Industry 4.0 is a substantial part of it, which also gets driven by a number of other elements like virtual reality, augmented reality, robotic process automation sometimes, and at the same time, IoT, which is a solution, which is a subset of Industry 4.0, you can say, whereby we are talking about collection of the number of data points from various places, and therefore putting a data either on an edge device within the premise, or maybe putting it in the cloud. And therefore, once you have the data points, coming up with a number of analytics models or coming up with a number of dashboard, and therefore giving the increased productivity, better quality, and better value on the return for the various manufacturing companies. Now, in order to put all of them together, you also need to follow an agile methodology, whereby all these requirements will keep changing, but your technology infrastructure and the architecture should be so strong that you will be able to cater to this changed requirement and therefore keep on creating the value for your clients, for your customers, for your internal employees, or maybe for the regulatory body. Therefore, the 360 degree of the ecosystem. So the agile methodology is also very important, and it is the way to build any kind of industry 4.0 or per se the digital transformation. That's all I have for the day. My friends, I would probably like to take some of the queries and the questions from the audience.
Yes, sir. It was nice to hear from you, sir. May I request the audience to please put your questions, the participants to please put your question in the Q&A so that we can take up one by one. I think I already have a couple of questions, sir. Dr. Gaurav says, I would like to know how it's linked with artificial intelligence and what is the way forward on digital depository, AI, IoT, Python, Tableau for next 10 years. That's what his question is, sir.
Can the question be repeated once again? I'm not sure.
Yes,
I understood.
he wants to understand how AI is linked with, I think, digital depository, IoT, Python, Tableau for the next 10 years.
Understood. It's a very interesting question. Thank you very much for asking these questions. And I think this is right now hovering in everybody's mind, right? I just read somewhere, or I was just talking to some of my colleagues in another forum, where they are saying that like business intelligence was abused for some time. Artificial intelligence is going to be abused for the rest of this decade. Okay, we are talking about a number of projects, and at the same time, we are talking now that artificial intelligence is probably not meeting what it is supposed to be creating in the industry. Okay, so in a more structured fashion, what I can say is that AI, machine learning, deep learning, or data science, all these things taken together is destined to get a great future. Okay, and artificial intelligence as a wing, as a stream, definitely has got huge steam into it. Okay, but when we are talking about artificial intelligence, it cannot really work on its own. There is also a very critical element of data. So a number of organizations which are really struggling today they are struggling because they don't have enough amount of data or good data points, so to say, right? Also, many of them struggle because they are not making the right investment in the right computation power. So therefore, these are some of the elements which are stopping, or rather, kind of creating hindrance for artificial intelligence in order to really achieve its goal. And hence a number of companies and another school of thought which is coming up is that AI is a little bit about hype, and it is really not as a number of companies really thought it is. But very strongly, if you ask me about my opinion, I feel that AI is still probably getting utilized 20% of its full capacity. Okay, so it has got huge opportunity, at least for the next 1 decade, 10 to 15 years, so to say. However, in order to really get the maximum value out of it, the companies or the organizations really need to rethink and deploy a proper strategy, right? They need to invest in the right infrastructure. They need to make sure that the data points are correct. And at the same time, from a supply standpoint also, the skill sets which are there, that also needs to be relooked. Today, we have got a number of data scientists, right? In the job market, we say that huge number of people, they claim that they are data scientists. But on the other hand, they really lack some of the very interesting skills. For example, data engineering skills. For example, when you're talking about ML ops or machine learning operation skill, right? These are now coming to the forefront. Only creating a Python program and giving a particular predictive model is not going to do the magic, right? You need a continuous ecosystem of talent who will be taking the data. Okay, first of all, the quality of the data will be good. They will be taking the data, address all the shortcoming of the data. set up the infrastructure, build the model, and then create an ecosystem, which is the operationalization of the AI model. Without all these individual boxes in place, only doing a particular modeling is not going to help. So this is how I look. So therefore, in an AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, they still will be utilized. A particular field will also happen in the days to come. It has already started. Okay, and Tableau is nothing but the software which will be more around the visualization. So it will also fall in the same place.
Thank you so much, sir. We have more questions. Let me take up the next question for you by Himanshu Sharma. He's asking, is predictive analytics is same as assumption analytics?
It will not be exactly the same, Himanshu. So there will be few cases. So when you talk about supervised and unsupervised learning, assumption analytics is whereby you are getting more into the area of hypothesis-based testing, right? So you are taking the null hypothesis and the alternate hypothesis, and with the help of the data, you are trying to find out whether your assumption was correct or not, or whether your hypothesis was correct or not. There is also a huge element of analytics where I really don't know the answer. I really don't know the business, so to say, in order to come up with it. Let me give you an example. Let's say if you want to predict whether a particular set of customers will get converted or not, if you know that there are 5-6 different parameters or dimensions, so to say, I'm just not trying to be too technical about it, but let's say you have got 5 or 6 dimensions. If you know that, okay, at what time I'm coming up with the campaign, whether it is important or not, so you already understand the corresponding analysis of the results. So you are taking an assumption, null hypothesis, as the time of the day at which my campaign is coming live is important, and not important becomes your alternate hypothesis. But let's say you're coming up with 200, 300 different dimensions, right? So there it is not possible for you to really narrow down to each and every hypothesis or hypothesis testing. So therefore, there it will be more around the predictive analytics and unsupervised learning model, where you really need to find out what is the relationship among them, and that will help you to predict. So there is a little difference between these two.
Thank you, sir. I have another question by Sushmita. She's asking how big data is related to digital transformation.
They are really related to each other very closely. Okay, big data is where you are having, the entire, as I mentioned, with the help of digital, you are having now multiple data points coming together. Now they are coming almost regularly, continuously, with huge volume, with different variety, veracity, and variability of the data points, right? So therefore, you are being almost, kind of plunged into the data. Now the $1 million question is what I do with the data. So that's where, comes your entire analytics part of it and processing of the data. So digital transformation and big data is enabling digital transformation, where huge number of data points or volume of the data we can quickly analyze, we can store them, we can quickly analyze them and bring out the insight, and therefore we can change the business parameters based on that. So they are very closely related.
Thank you so much, sir. And I have another question from Manoj. Can we get some insight on the application of AI and ML in the agriculture, production, processing, and allied sectors, considering the realities of rural India?
It's a very interesting question. And I think right now, there are a number of initiatives by the government of India, which is already happening, right? So some of the application or some of the use cases would be, if you get a particular mix of, the various ingredients and given a particular condition of the soil, okay, what is going to be the crop production in this particular season? Then based on the monsoon, a number of meteorological data, what is going to be the condition of the monsoon, and therefore what is going to be the impact on the various, fields, especially in the production of paddy and wheat, all the cereals, this particular algorithm is getting used. I know a few startups. It basically started in MIT, and there have been a very successful startup which used to work with a deep learning technology. What they used to do, basically, they started with some drones, right, along with the enabled camera. So it will take the picture of the various fields along with the paddy and the other crops, and looking at the particular image, it will put a particular algo to predict whether this particular crop will undergo any kind of attack from the pests or not. So there are a number of interesting use cases and predictive cases which are there. They are the very good use of not only artificial intelligence, within artificial intelligence, not only machine learning, but also the deep learning. So this is a very interesting field, and in the days to come, there will be many more applications of deep learning and machine learning into agriculture.
Thank you so much, sir. Another question is from Rishikesh. How can we know how can we most efficiently market for high security number plates on commission basis, in which after order placements on web portal in 10 days, the number plates are delivered to the address given while filling the form while filling the order data? I'm not sure about this question, sir.
So I will not get into that directly in terms of this particular answer, but what I can say is that when you are having a corresponding security and the delivery, I think digital transformation can help in multiple ways. But what will be the real application of it? I think this is with the relative government agencies and the corresponding bodies. But what I can just imagine, my wildest imagination, what can happen is that the reduction in the response time can definitely take place. But I'm not really privy to all other interim steps which are followed in terms of doing that. But of course, with the help of security and the cybersecurity enablement of the chip in the number plate, etc., that can be really thought of, whereby one can find out whether a particular number plate is the right number plate or not for a particular vehicle. And also, I think the surveillance system has really increased a lot. And of course, with the help of various digital mechanisms, the response time can also be reduced. But remember, all these points I'm saying really without much of a knowledge inside this particular process. What are the steps? What are the elements that get followed by the government or the other agencies? So therefore, the reality may be different than this.
So another question by Mujib. He's asking, what are the recent trends in digital transformation? So
I would say that nothing could be more interesting than where we are standing right now and where we are right now. A number of new trends which are coming up. Instead of really talking about robotic process automation or VR, AR, or about artificial intelligence, now we are talking about solutions. So gone are the days where people really got mesmerized with the help of all these technologies in isolation. So today people are really talking about how all these technologies can come together and therefore create something interesting. So that is one major change which is happening. We are also seeing more and more seamless delivery of the AI and digital transformation. For example, one area I mentioned in the context of some previous answer is the ML ops, right? So we are not only talking about building a model based on data, but we are talking about an engine where the model will be created, the model will be deployed, and the answer will come up, rather seamlessly and continuously. If there is a change in the accuracy level, then the feedback will come and the corresponding model will self readjust. And therefore, the second set of data or the second set of output will come. So we are seeing this particular dynamism. Another very interesting area that is coming to the forefront is the usage of blockchain. So today we are talking about a wide application of blockchain and those use cases. A lot of people predicted that around 2021, 2022, blockchain will really transform the supply chain. But frankly speaking, that has not happened. Okay, even Gartner and Forrester both predicted that probably it will take up to 2025 for blockchain technology to really transform supply chain. But the time is coming. So today we are seeing more interesting adoption of blockchain technology. So in my view, these are the top 2 or 3. Other thing is again coming up is a more application of additive manufacturing or 3D printing. So very recently we saw that the first home got made with the help of 3D printing technology. These are still at a playing level, right? But those days are not very far when we'll have a number of important equipments, prototypes, etc., being created with the help of additive manufacturing. They are already getting created today. So these are the 4 areas, in my view, which will come up more in the days to come.
Thank you so much, sir. I have another question. What is the role of automation in Internet of Things?
Okay, I would say Internet of Things is nothing but one of the mechanisms of automation. Okay, in the past we spoke about, remember when we spoke about the first three industrial automation or industrial revolution, we talked about Industry 3.0 when some form of automation was already there. We were having the computers, we were having some of the mechanical robotic elements, etc. But today, Internet of Things is really taking that automation to the next level, right? So we are getting the cyber and the physical systems. We are talking about the real-time talking among the human at the same time machine, and therefore predicting the future. So I think automation has been existing even 50 years back, even 60 years back, right? But with Internet of Things, today we are taking automation to the next level, to the level of a transformation.
All right, so thank you so much. And I think another question I have, the last question for the day is, these days, because of huge data flow every moment through lots of social media or online transaction, we in terms of our private data, how information can be secured or can be stronger these days, which is more crucial? By Maitri, she's asking me this question.
Sure. It's a very good question, and it's a very pertinent as well. So, and we all have our rights to be a little bit scared about the plethora of the data points, the advent of the dark web and the usage of dark web, the usage of blockchain, etc. Remember the stand of the various governments. Few governments worldwide adopted to blockchain. On the other hand, few governments they are not yet so sure. Number of cybersecurity threats which are increased, right? So today we are again in a very interesting timeline. In my view, technology finds a way to evolve, right? And when technology gets, it evolves, and when there are new innovations, there is also a very important element of whether the particular technology is getting used properly or not. Initially, it does not. Many people have got the right intention, but at the same time, we cannot negate that it may also be used for the wrong or malicious intents. Now the systems are really improving every day, right? So today we still, I think pandemic has also pushed us more towards the digital transformation, where we cannot really say that I will go and pay a visit to the bank and therefore I'll get the money, right? Online transactions are pretty much happening aplenty. So that being said, all these digital data of ours and the digital avatar of us will undergo some kind of changes, right? There is a risk, there is an increasing risk now more than it has ever been. But at the same time, the corresponding systems are also getting upgraded, right? So where all the companies, they're storing our data points, they are also now taking increasing measures. They are making their networks more secure so that these kind of breaches do not happen. So this will evolve more in the future.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for taking up all the questions. And I thank you for everything and also helping us to understand Internet of Things and Industry 4.0. And thank you for patiently answering all the questions that was asked by the participants. Sir. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, it was a great session by Soumyadeep sir. Moving ahead, we will have the panel discussion with the great panelists again. So a couple of more minutes. We are just waiting for the other panelists to join. Hello, Michael sir. So we'll just wait for another 2-3 minutes for the panelists to join. I would request all the participants to kindly hold on. Just give us 2-3 minutes. Yes, I have the panelists already here. Okay. Good afternoon, Hari sir, Michael sir, Vasudevan sir, and Jayashree ma'am, and Antarpreet Singh sir. So let's go ahead with the second session now, and let me take the opportunity to introduce and welcome our panelists for the day. Right. The aim of education is the knowledge, not of fact, but of values. Let's move ahead and understand more today on digital technology management for business excellence. It's time to know our panelists for the day. Let me take this opportunity to welcome and introduce them. We have with us Mr. Hari Prakash Kacharla, GIBS faculty, brand consultant and trainer, who's also the moderator for the day. Let me introduce sir. Sir is an independent consultant and the managing Management faculty. He is a professional with over 3 decades of experience in sales, marketing, sports marketing, HR, and logistics with top brands, a keynote speaker, faculty in top B schools of India and US. He delivers talks for large groups on team building, inclusion and diversity, breaking the glass ceilings, and joys of work. He is an active sportsman. He is a mentor for national level sub-junior players and players, veteran circuit tennis and squash in India. I welcome you, sir.
My pleasure, Lakshmi Madam.
Thank you,
And
sir.
good afternoon, everybody.
It's time to know about the first panelist that we have with us today. Let me introduce Mr. Michael Theo, founder, CEO, Thriving Talents, strategist and speaker. Sir has joined us all the way from Malaysia. So let me take this opportunity to introduce Sir to you all. Sir is the founding CEO of Thriving Talents, a millennials-led learning solutions company dedicated to enable and empower leaders in organizations to motivate and mobilize the potential and skills of the largest workforce in the world. The millennials, or candidly known as the Gen Ys and Gen Zs, with his company of 30 trainers and consultants, Sir has built his company to be HRD Corporation, certified in Malaysia, and also had his learning solutions being endorsed by PERKESO, SIDC, under the Securities Commission and the Malaysian Productivity Corporation, under the Ministry of International Trade and Industry. Aligned with his passion, being an entrepreneur in the corporate education sector, he was recognized as Malaysia's Young Entrepreneur of the Year for companies valued up to RM 35 million ringgit. In 2019, by the Star newspapers, Star Outstanding Business Awards, or popularly known as SOBA. He was also recognized as the nation's top 10 creative entrepreneurs of the year by the prestigious Global Business Association, the Junior Chamber International, on that same year as well. Through his company, Thriving Talents, Sir had led his business to emerge amongst the top 100 fastest growing SMEs in the country by SME Magazine, and a recipient of the Golden Bull Awards, one of the oldest and longest established business award for SMEs. Despite his business accolades, he still regards himself as the ultimate sales and customer service leader in his company, Thriving Talents, where he still enjoys the thrills of pitching, persuading, and winning clients over to entrust his company with the job to upskill and train their employees to be more productive and profitable in their work. I mean, the accolades and the awards goes on. So it's really great to know about you, sir. I welcome you for the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good day, good evening from Malaysia.
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Antarpreet Singh, sir, with us today, who's GIBS faculty and founder of ADTA with us as the panelist for the day. So let me introduce Sir to you all. Sir is a global industry leader with rich and varied experience of 36 years with top MNCs and the companies like Alcatel, Lucent, Reliance, Flipkart, etc. And he's also associated with top B schools like ISB and Amity University. He has headed as Asia Pacific head of Alcatel Lucent University, spread-headed corporate and executive education programs in 24 countries. He's a global leadership team member and is rated as global high potential leader. He has transformed for mobile networks like Version and Sprint across USA. Sir has more than 3 years association with schools, B schools in teaching, research and digital learning. He has set up ISP Digital Campus for 2 campuses, 4 research institutes, and for executive education too. Sir also works as an adjunct professor at Amity University and also a visiting professor and a guest faculty at MDI, Union School, Masters Union School of Business at Gurgaon, and also guest faculty and interview panelist for Ford School of Management, New Delhi. He is currently pursuing his PhD in OB and HR from IIM Indore. His research interests are in artificial intelligence in human resources, artificial intelligence ethics, and de-skilling. It's great to have you, sir. I welcome you for the panel discussion. Let me take this opportunity to introduce another panelist of the day. We have Ms. Jayashree Kar, founder and director, Digitalization Technologies. Ma'am, let me introduce ma'am to you all. Ma'am has a master's degree with 28 years of IT experience. She's a hardcore technologist, specialized in architecture consulting, integration services, and quality re-engineering. She has implemented many large business critical architectures for financial services, healthcare, retail, consumer, and aviation. Ma'am is a customer's hands-on programmer and an enterprise architect. She's specialized in Java, full stack, and her specialized technologies are R, Python, Android, big data, AI and ML, cybersecurity, so on and so on. She has got global experience working across multinational IT organizations. To mention few are Capgemini, Toyota, HP, Ford, and so on. She has also worked with IT giants like Wipro, Mindtree, and TCS. She has set up SOA and Integrated Business Practice Group, part of Architectural Council for Wipro, Mindtree. She has passion for new technology, programming, and teaching, and she is known for setting up new technology organizations for and COEs. Pleasure to have you, ma'am. I welcome you for the panel discussion.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, and let's have a good day.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Let me take this opportunity to introduce and welcome Mr. Vasudevan, Director, Digitalization Technologies. Sir, let me introduce sir to you all. Sir is a successful business corporate, sir is a successful business leader in various corporates. He has played global leadership roles across organizations. He has served 29 years in IT industry, out of which 23 years has been in financial services for customers across banking, finance, securities, and capital markets and insurance. Sir is established and incubated multiple business functions at Wipro, covering application development, practice development, quality engineering, and assurance services. Recently, he has set up cloud practice for financial services business unit in Wipro as a part of their big bet business initiatives. He has set up P&L, implemented large digital and cloud transformation projects for global financial services. He has won many large 50 million US dollars to 100 plus million US dollars multi-year global deals as well. He has received multiple outsourcing innovation awards from customers. Some of his works has been published at international journals too. He has also authored white paper on cloud as linchpin for financial services businesses that is hosted in Wipro.com. He is a recipient of Best People Manager Award from Wipro. He is a visiting professor at various management institutes in Bangalore. He's also a speaker on emerging technologies. Happy to have you, sir. I welcome you for the panel discussion. So,
guys, hi.
I welcome all the panelists and the participants once again and request Hari sir to lead the panel discussion. Over to you, sir.
My pleasure, Lakshmi Madam, to be the host or the moderator for this fantastic panel. And of course, a very lively subject of digital technology management as a means for business excellence. Indeed, I think the introduction of the panelists might require more than 2 hours. If the entire program is 1 hour, we'll have to manage the time, because the profile of each and every participant is such. And most of them have got hands-on experience with business excellence and digital technology management. And Theo's talks I normally listen to, and fantastic speaker. I think he's, out of the 4 panelists that are there, he will bring that soft element. I'm not saying that he's not the technology man, because I could see the smiley coming out of his camera when he liked something about his introduction. Very nice to have this fantastic panel for today afternoon. The topic of business excellence using digital technology management, or digital technology and transformation as a means, is something I think the era of IT and advent of artificial intelligence and all these technological transformations have helped leaderships to consider technology and excellence both can be integrated in their journey towards competitive advantages. So as they say in management, Michael Porter's theory of competitive advantages, you need to be ahead through innovations, cost advantage, technology. So I think why not embrace technology as a means of achieving business excellence has been the recipe or the method the better organizations are actually embracing. So without much going through this entire introduction of digital technology or business excellence, as a management professional and a professor now, I realize that quality as a management tool, whether it was when it was started by William Deming, and the entire Japanese auto majors and the American majors embraced quality management. And later on, when Japanese incorporated other Kaizen methods and total quality management, the Indian corporations also were not behind. I remember in RPG group where I worked in SEAT, and also in Tata Motors, which had this TBEM, Tata Business Excellence Model. They have taken the best of the European quality management and the Deming's quality management, and then they actually undertook the journey of business excellence. Well, the components of the business excellence could be more or less similar, whatever be the model. But I think today's world is looking at technology as a cutting edge to reach the business excellence levels. So without much ado, I want to get to the first question, which I wanted to put to all the panelists. With technology playing a big part in changing lives and lifestyles of humans, what, according to you, are the major breakthrough technologies you have seen in your careers, in your lives, both in business, personal, corporate, and what impact it had on you? Ma'am, Jayshree ma'am, you may take the question first, and we'll have everybody go.
Sure, definitely. See, last 30 years has seen a tectonic shift in the areas of business. If we see around, the number of young entrepreneurs, the small businesses taking on the major business giants is the major breakthrough in my lifetime. I would have never thought about it when I came out of the college and started my business. Look at what's happening with PayPal and Paytm. They are probably doing more financial transactions than the big banks are doing. And the banks are no more threatened by the other banks. They're threatened by the technological companies. Look at what is happening in India with the Zomatos and Swiggies. They don't make any food, but they feed most of the people, that are ordering food outside. So there has been a major change the way businesses are done. And if I look at why this has happened, where is the technology in it? So technologically, internet, that happened to us, that has changed, that has created these new business models. Look at what is happening with the cloud technologies. Now, the young entrepreneurs, they don't have to think of having a lock-in period with large capex investment, which they can't do. Think about with the open source technologies. That is what is giving rise to for us to experiment things. I don't have to, if like when I started my business 5 years back, I don't have to invest huge amount of money before I know whether it's going to work for me or not. I can just have my business in cloud. I can use the open source technologies. And look at another thing that is happening with the marketing. So it is the Facebook, it is the LinkedIn, it is the Instagrams that is providing for anybody, a small player today, a homemaker at home can bring their products and services to the internet, and they can have a level playing field along with the big businesses. If I look at this, this is the biggest change that has happened to the business. Another thing on personal side, I'm really glad the way the mobile technologies have come about with the video calling, with the smartphones. We can make the payment transfers at the fingertips. Last 2 years have been extremely difficult for the whole world. We are not able to travel. We are not able to meet our family. We are not able to be there for them. But then the video calling, the money transfer being at our fingertips, it has helped us to have a different lifestyle. And not only me, I can talk about my experience. If I want to do some make some worships in Banaras or Allahabad or any other place, I can just get that done, get that arranged to the phone. I can visualize it sitting at home. I can transfer the money to the priest. I can take their blessings over the phone. These are major things. And when I look at the people at the lowest strata, people who are the daily wagers, and they spending huge amount of money. It's a huge chunk for buying a smartphone, like 10, 12, 15,000, whatever it costs. They spend that money because it has become the one-stop shop for them to have access to the world that they never thought they had. So these are the two things. If I look at the businesses, the small entrepreneurs taking on the business giants, and it's going to be more and more, and the people with lesser means having a say or having a life that they never imagined with the help of a smartphone. I think those two have been the life-changing events for me during my lifetime so far. Thank you.
And I'm sure you're enjoying it because you are a technology person.
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Michael, what's your take? What are the breakthrough technologies you have encountered in your 3 decades of work and personal life?
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, and a very good afternoon, good morning, good evening, no matter where you're joining us here today. Honored to be here with the GIBS Business School again, supporting my good friend who's the founder of this business school, and bringing our views from Malaysia to share with all of you, as well to the fellow students joining this session. Personally, for me, the technology that would have given me a lot of breakthrough would be social media. And I know that that sounds very common. Everybody says that. But I believe social media has helped me build my career in a few ways. And that has also helped me to elevate my business as well. So I would put it to 3 ways. And this is to help us reimagine how we use social media. Number one, how it has helped my career as a speaker, a consultant, and a trainer is that previously, what used to cost a lot of money for us to advertise, not only locally, but globally as well, would now no longer be that expensive because of social media. Because right now with social media, it's an avenue for us when we learn how to take good pictures, because normally if you upload nice pictures, people do contribute more likes, hence the content could go viral. As long as you know how to make entertaining videos, or what I would say edutainment, education and entertainment. So if you put both of those elements together in your video, people would make it viral for you. So having known that right now, social media has helped me a lot as a small entrepreneur, someone who may not be leading a Fortune 500 yet, But me having my own businesses with my own team, we work with many clients around the world. Despite us being a small company, we were able to service clients across 41 countries because we constantly engage with people on social media. You know, gone are the days where if you want to work with people from outside of Malaysia, or for me to work with all of you good people in India, that I would need to buy billboards in India. I would need to advertise on your local TV stations. I mean, even these days, who still watch TV, right? So gone are those days. Now people leverage a lot on social media. So a breakthrough technology for me, number one, would be social media because of the way how we use it to promote our business, to promote ourselves, to get ourselves noticed. The second technology that have given a breakthrough for me, of course, it's platforms like these, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Cisco Webex. Reason being because with the pandemic, it has caused many disruptions, but it has also changed the way how we consume information. And having Zoom calls like these are now acceptable. I think previously when I participated in GIBS Business School's program, I was flown all the way to Bangalore or Bengaluru to actually deliver the talks there. But now with the advent and with the acceptance of society using platforms like these, like Zoom, MS Teams, Cisco Webex, this has become the new norm, which I would like to positively stress for all of you students watching this right now. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if that limiting belief you have in your mind is that, oh, I can't do it because it needs a lot of money, I don't have the latest technology, you could start marketing yourself, your business, your services, just by using Zoom, by using Facebook Lives. There are free versions out there for you. So I would say that would be the second technological breakthrough that have changed my life. Lastly, the third technological breakthrough that has helped my business in particular is the outsourcing and what I call digital outsourcing. Today, I have accountants who work with me who I don't even know them. They are all AIs, artificial intelligence. I just need to put in my receipt into certain websites. The websites would be smart enough with the engine behind, the computing behind it, to segregate my receipts, to help me generate a report that I could be used for my taxation purposes, to track my business performance. All these are now made available. Again, 10, 20 years ago, what the big boys had was that they had a lot of human resources. They had a lot of manpower that could help them with all these processing. But now with technology, I believe a lot of startups have leveled the playing field. Small businesses like ours can function like the big boys, like the Fortune 500s, without the need to really be at their size to make that impact. At the end of the day, I would end with this parting message to answer your question, Mr. Moderator, sir. People tend to look at how big your business is in terms of how many people you employ. But that could have been the case 10, 20 years ago. But I think moving forward into the future, integrating technology, I think the next measurement of how successful your business is how lean your business. And it's not how much revenue you generate, it's how much is your profit margin that you take home, that you contribute to your shareholders at the end of the day. So here's my call to all of you aspiring entrepreneurs. Having big businesses with a lot of headcount, it seems cool. You portray yourself as really successful. But remember, the more headcounts you have, the higher your expenses. I think the next key success measure is how can you keep your business lean and clean by adopting technology. Back to you, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Mr. Michael, and I can see how well you are benefited by the social media. Your posts on the LinkedIn and all speak a lot about them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
And Vasudevan, sir, your take on this, the breakthrough technologies in your career.
Yeah, thank you, Ari. I'm more of a corporate guy, so I can keep talking about a corporate successes, a technology breakthrough. But before even we go there, a breakthrough, so we should understand what has happened in the past. Then you can reference back what has been the breakthrough, right? We are in the Industrial Revolution 4, We started with the steam, we moved to mechanical, we moved to electrical, then electronics, now in the digital, right? So that's how the transformation of the industry revolution is kind of happening, right? Very interestingly, in the digital economy, digital world, there is a technology evolution happens, right? So each generation of the technology is broadly classified as a 20 years. From 1960 to 1980, you call it generation X. 80 to 20, whatever the technology that we all embrace is called a generation Y, right? And then 2020 onwards, right? 2020 to 2020 onwards, right? It's called a generation X, Z, or millennial technology, right? So to that extent, the panels sitting here are kind of seen through the X, Y, Z, right? So they will be kind of able to appreciate much more the technology relevance in the business, right, than many other audiences. Okay, that's one, right? So one thing that really fascinates me in terms of mobile technology, right? The population is about 8 billion, right? Out of the 8 billion, about 58%, about 4.8 billion today, okay, use the internet. About 4.8 billion users in the world use the internet, right? And out of which about 4.2 billion people in the world use mobile devices. Okay, they are no more a phone.
Out of the 8 billion human population, yeah.
Yeah, about the 8 billion human population, about 4.2 billion people use a mobile as a device, as a technology for what? Not as a phone, but as a computer to kind of do trading, business and stuff like this, right? It's a huge. And every day about 70,000 new users are added in the industry, right? Or in the internet, right? So all of them use mobile technology, internet for their business, right? So that's the first part, mobile technology adoption. It really amazes me the way the kind of a business, you educated technologists, the management graduate, vegetable seller, auto wala, everybody uses business, in the digital, right? That's one, right? It's an equitable business opportunity for people in the world, right? Second interesting aspect to me is I call it the asset, ACID, right? What is the asset? AIML, right? So data is all about a business, right? Or business is all about a data, right? So how do I kind of nicely get intelligent data, right? So AIML plays a critical role. Some of the technical panels is going to talk about it, right? A, right? And the C is a cloud. Where do I store the data? Right? Such a huge volume of data, trillion gigabytes of data. I need to kind of process it and help the customer to do business, right? So the infrastructure cloud becomes an important C, right? There's the I. I is all about a device, right? In the world, okay, every person in the world has got a two device. Okay, close to about 15 billion kind of a devices in the world connected to the internet. Right? So IoT is kind of going to rule the world the way the people are going to live, right? And of course, the fourth is the data that I said. Data is all about the business. It's the genesis of the business, right? The asset, it's something fascinates me. Okay, it has some breakthrough achievement in the human life, right? So obviously, this asset brought to many other things, right? Whether it's automation, whether it's robotics, whether it's a process platform like SAP, Oracle, or any other business platform, right? So broadly, my fascinating thing about the breakthrough of the technology in the current construct of millennials is a mobile internet technology combined with the asset. Back to you, Ari.
Excellent acronym, ACID. I mean, it's definitely not TESA, but an acronym which is worth remembering for all the young participants, numbering more than 300. And let me go to Antarpreet ji to give his views on what are the breakthrough technologies he has encountered with.
Yeah, thanks. So I'll put the whole thing in a different context. I would say breakthrough mindsets and the breakthrough technologies. I'll talk about that. I have been very keenly. I mean, as I also evolved in my career, 20 years earlier, you could either choose this product or this product. Now product itself has emerged as a platform. Now I will give a very simple example so that everyone, we have 317 participants and some of us who are in the panel, you have Google Drive desktop version. It operates on a Windows, Microsoft Windows, which means there are application programming interfaces which are getting integrated. Now, what has happened is that while Microsoft or Google, or for that matter, any two products compete as proprietary products, they collaborate on the layers of those products. So there is a competition and collaboration. You compete with others as a products. You collaborate with others on the layers of that product you collaborate, which as a faculty and as a researcher in OB and HR, we call it as a reciprocity or a social exchange theory. So reciprocal behavior, which means that let us grow the ecosystem. If the pizza base is smaller, the pie which the slice I will get will be smaller. If the pizza base is very big, then the slice I will get will be bigger. So with that endeavor, currently we are seeing product as a platform. That's I would say the breakthrough technology, and this is a result of a breakthrough mindset, because technology is a creation of mind. Technology doesn't evolve on its own. We should never ever forget. I am researching on artificial intelligence adoption in HR ecosystem. So the first thing is that the leadership creativity drives the whole thing. Even the AI is driven by leadership and creativity. AI doesn't drive leadership and creativity. So the breakthrough technology, I would say, open API platforms, open API products, which can talk to each other, which can link with each other, where the application programming interface get integrated, and you grow the ecosystem. And there are umpteen examples, and there are so many examples. You take Google Maps will work with other operating systems, not only just Android. It will work on iOS also. So this has been a major breakthrough, because I started my career way back in 1985 after I completed my master's in management, and I've been an engineering graduate, so I could understand the technology. I was passionate about the technology, but for a good, I would say 10, 15, 20 years, I would see that either use this proprietary technology or use this proprietary technology. You can't use both. Yeah. And it was unimaginable at that point in time to think that you can use two competing products together in one solution. But it is a reality now. So while Microsoft and Google will be competing with each other, but the OneDrive you will have on the same PC, OneDrive, you will have a Google Drive. Otherwise, what is the business of Google Drive on Microsoft product? So this is a reciprocity. And I would say that while we are talking about technology, let us not forget about behaviors. Let us not, because entrepreneurs, whether it's Sundar Pichai or Bill Gates, they are human beings. They think, they create solutions. So it is the leadership and thought. Of course, now the Nadella has taken over Microsoft, so I should take his name as well. So all the students, all the audience who is there in this corporate summit must understand that leadership and human ability and creativity creates breakthrough technologies. Breakthrough technologies don't define us. We define breakthrough technology. Thank you.
Great. Very good. Absolutely bang on points. In fact, that's my leading question to the as I go next. You talked about interface. You talked about breakthrough thinking. That's something I think which is very, very leadership quality that is required when we undertake a journey of business excellence or competitive advantages in business ecosystem. So you also talked about very nicely how important is the collaboration. You might be a competitor in the marketplace, but there is a need to collaborate to grow the entire piece of business. That's what we call in marketing the market development, rather than just getting the percentage market share. So I thought I'll give this question to the person who actually speaks to large groups. That's Mr. Michael in the panel. He's a master public speaker, and he has been talking to various groups of students, government agencies, corporates, not just in Malaysia. Now, as he said, thanks to Zoom and all that, he speaks to different country corporates, and that too on varied subjects. Michael, your strengths have been talking on soft skills, attitudes, productivity, leadership training. So when we talk about technology, has technology taken over this role of this personal soft skills, and then, or has personal soft skills and technology joined well as a combine to do wonders to this corporate world? And how do you see this? Are they opposing, soft skills and technology?
Thank you so much, Mr. Harisa. My simple answer would be no. The moment if we start thinking, and if you shared, Mr. Hari, that I do a lot of soft skills training, if we start thinking that with technology, it's going to make soft skills irrelevant, then I think we are fearing an enemy, which is not really an enemy. Because as civilization continues to develop, we have to improve. And technology is our way of how our civilization is improving. So I do not see technology taking over what I do. In fact, I would like to invite all of us here, including the panelists, because I know a lot of our panelists here today are from very esteemed companies. I want you to imagine this. My team works with your team, employees, or even university students in university. We come in and your employees, let's say you engage us to provide a public speaking training. So we would come in, we would spend half day, 4 hours, where the public speaking training will be done just like this over Zoom if we are working with you in India. It will be done via Zoom. You will have a facilitator like myself teaching them, giving them the tips, giving them the practical strategies that they can use to be an eloquent, charismatic, persuasive public speaker. 4 hours. Right after that, we would get your participants, your employees or your students to sign up to our platform, where if they have two choices here. If they have a VR headset, an Oculus Rift or a Oculus Quest, they put on the headset, our AI will start talking to them. And our AI would say, select your venue. So let's say your students say, I'm going to give a talk at a business conference. So using, the VR headset, I would click on a button that would bring me to a venue. Now, that venue is not real, it's in VR. But in that venue, your participant will be able to see there will be a crowd there, people will be waiting for their speech, and then they have an option either to turn on or turn off disturbances. Let's say they want a little bit of a challenge, so they turn on disturbances. What happened is in the VR world, they'll be able to hear people talking among the crowd, people texting, phone ringing, and then they would then have to start their speech. So they start speaking. They talk, they can talk whatever topics they want. The crowd will react to them. There'll be disturbances from the crowd. And then 3 minutes into their first speech, the simulation will pause. And the simulation will then bring up a chart and say, based on our average of the world's best public speakers, based on what they have done, this is how fast you have spoken. This is how nervous you were. This is how many words you were speaking in how many minutes, in how many seconds.
My God.
And then the AI will teach your participants, your employees or your students, do it again. Except this time they will give you recommendations. Slower your rhythm. Speak by making more eye contact with the whole room. Mind your gestures, because according to some of the world's best public speakers, this is what they do. do it again. And then you do it again, you practice. And then at the end, when you conclude the simulation, it could be a good 20 minutes, half an hour to an hour, all up to you. The moment you conclude the simulation, from our side, we will receive the report of how you have done. Next week, we have another 4 hours where it is facilitated by me, another live instructor. I'll be able to share how you have done, what can you improve on, and what are some of the things that you can do to deliver a better speech in the future. And then you repeat the process. Go back to the VR world, choose a different scene now. Perhaps you want to give a speech in a stadium. Click on stadium. You are in a stadium right now. Everyone is cheering. How do you speak? Mr. Hari, sir, we have that technology with us. We'll be running it this Monday with our country's largest telco. It is possible. Now, just in case people say, oh, Michael, but we do not have VR. VR is quite expensive to buy. We have AI, artificial intelligence-led technology. Same thing. We start off, you have a trained facilitator like us. We'll facilitate the live sessions, 4 hours. We don't believe in a one whole day virtual training because it soars the eye. 4 hours, done. You go into the AI and it's a sales simulation. This is for salespeople. The AI will pick up how you are pitching to the AI about your product. The AI will tell you about your flaws. The AI will tell you how to improve on your pitches on your product or service in the future. All these are all available right now. And I'm not just saying this for fun. I'm saying this because we have the solution. So if you were to ask me, we have never viewed technology as our enemy, despite me being in soft skills training, leadership, sales, and honestly, I do not like the word soft skills. I think these are competitive skills. You see, people say, Mr. Hari, sir, creative thinking is a soft skill. Resourcefulness, entrepreneurship is a soft skill. But without you having mastered how to think, how to be a solution solver, how to be a problem solver, be a solutions provider, you would not be able to leverage on any technology. So as much as people say soft skills, I can appreciate that, but I would rather say competitive skills, competitive human skills. And if you see the world that way.
And you made great friendship with technology.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we don't see it as an enemy.
Yes.
They are partners with us right now.
Great
so
partner.
That's our example.
Thank you so much. Excellent. My question to Mr. Untapped Singh is, sir, you are an expert in technology space. You are a business leader for several decades. You would have driven several business excellence initiatives using technology during your stints at Reliance, Alcatel, Flipkart, and you also set up centers in Indian School of Business. You are now actively into academics. Can you think of a project where technology helped in a very big way in the organization's quest for business excellence?
Yeah, thanks. Excellent question. So, God has been very kind, and I, over 36, 37 years, I've been able to set up 7, 8 digitally connected academies at a global scale. I will only talk about Alcatel-Lucent. Yeah, I can go on, and everyone loves speaking of oneself, so I will keep it simple and short. So I won't talk about Reliance Jio, I won't talk about Flipkart, ISB, Fujitsu, Dell Labs, Lucent, AT&T. Let me, Alcatel-Lucent, after the merger of Alcatel with Lucent, AT&T, so there were the presence was in 131 countries, and almost 95,000, that was after downsizing, 95,000 employees, thousands of channel partners, hundreds of customers spread out. So Alcatel-Lucent University was integration of, because Lucent viewed it as a business, Alcatel viewed it as a more cost center, more as an HR function. And I was transferred from research and development. I was looking after US 2 products for Verizon Wireless and Sprint Nextel. I took over as director and had India and SAARC. And then 2 years later, I was made as Asia Pacific at 24 campuses. So we had learning services as a business, more than 85 to 90,000 euro, million euro as a business. And there we had a large number of campuses. We had 24 campuses in Asia Pacific. These were digitally connected. So the project, I will say, this was a very technically challenging project that all campuses, and I'm talking about 10 years earlier. I mean, today, if I talk about this, what's a big deal? Especially after COVID-19, I mean, everyone is digitally connected now. You could not sort of, and that has been another, I'm sidetracking for 20 seconds. Just before COVID and wherever on the conference, in the conferences, I'll have a side talk with the vice chancellors or directors or deans. Everybody will pay lip service to digital transformation. Only few good schools or few good institutions were having digital technologies connecting campuses and this thing. And the moment COVID forced campuses to be locked down, then everybody wished yesterday we should have done this digital transformation. And so let me go back to Alcatel-Lucent days. So we had 11 years earlier, we had complete digital connectivity, and it was not only for customers, also for channel partners, also for employees. That was a daunting challenge. That was a huge challenge to connect and take care of the human capital, because Alcatel-Lucent, Ericsson, Cisco, Nokia, they would compete basis the human capital. I mean, that will define which company would get larger. Every company was $20-25 billion in terms of the top line. And managing the learning life cycles of 95,000. I mean, in APEC itself, I had more than 22,000 employees whose learning life cycles have to be digitally managed. All the records have to be digitally managed. Of course, at that point in time, it was a enterprise software. I mean, today I can say it was a dumb intelligence. The AI was not there. Today, I mean, if I have to run the same campus, I will put in a lot of algorithms to tell learners that you need this thing, the adaptive learning, so as to say, platforms. And that was a very challenging project. And in fact, that laid the foundation of what I did later in my career with Reliance Jio Countrywide, with Flipkart, with the Indian School of Business. And then I set up India's first payments academy for a unicorn called Pine Labs. And then another digital campus for an Australian customer while I was running my own startup. So to summarize and to conclude on your question, Hari, this has been an Alcatel-Lucent globally connected campus with 95,000 employees, thousands of channel partners, and hundreds of customers, with a top line which was closer to 100 million euro, and one of the finest corporate universities in the world.
That's a giant leap on business excellence in a way, for sure. Thank you so much. Madam, Jayashree Madam, you are a hardcore technologist, and I am tempted to ask this question with experience in top technology MNCs. And we also see your penchant for setting up technology centers of excellence. So technology and excellence have been, both sides of the coin for you, and several initiatives using technology as your tool. You have taken organizations' journey to business excellence. According to you, apart, like I asked Mr. Michael also, for organizations to take this journey using technology towards business excellence, what are the beliefs leaderships should have, beliefs, attitudes? What, according to you, should be the key, what you call areas of thought process that leadership should have for making things easy? And from
Thank
your
you,
experience.
Hari, for that question. Yeah. So if you look around, what the organizations are struggling, then we will see that what kind of attitude the business should have to what are our customers looking for. So what our customers are looking for at this point of time is automation, automation, and automation. It's not because a lot of people think what will happen to our job if everybody is going for automation. It's not about taking away people's jobs. It's about getting more accuracy. Like, human beings, I always tell this to my students, that we are driven by our emotions. We have our health issues. We can only work for finite number of hours with so much of accuracy, because if somebody threw a terabytes of data at me, I wouldn't know what to do with it, but the machines can. And then when they process the information, then probably it helps me to make that decision very quickly. So the organizations are looking at automation, they're looking at reducing the time cycles, they're looking at performance, they're looking at security, which is a huge challenge. At this point of time, all of us are exposed to the internet. Now anybody from anywhere can attack and try to get our information. So that's a huge challenge. So what kind of mindset we are going to have if we have to tackle the problems that our customers are having? As a young consultant, which is part of the giant consulting firms in UK and US, I learned one thing: you have to be this multi-skilled person. You cannot have only one skill and try to solve your customers. I saw my seniors, and I used to treat them as my role models, who are the demigods. And why they are treated as the demigods when they came to the customer place? Because they were the one that knew the process, they knew the domain, they knew the technology. So they kind of understood, and they had what is happening in another customer place, what is happening in this customer place. So they could easily map the customer problem into one of those, or a hybrid of few of the problems. So we, if we have to have that mindset, we have to have a very open mindset to use the technologies. We cannot say I'm a Microsoft shop. Once I remain a Microsoft shop, even if the whole world may be using something else for it, I should not say that, oh, I am a Java shop. There is no more this shop business, because the tools are getting created in one technology and getting consumed in another. Look at what is happening with the deep learning space. Google created these TensorFlows, and then which is the most consumer? It's the Python programs that consume it, which is created in C++. There are technologies, NLP, natural language processing, libraries being created in Java and then being consumed in R and Python. So we have to have an open mindset. We should build our workforce accordingly. We should look at making people, treat them with a lot of freedom. The new generation workforce is not going to be the mindset of taking orders. They're going to come out with a lot of brilliant ideas. We should have the wish and the desire to listen to them, give them the right freedom. Look at all the companies that have done well, the Googles. They don't have any race code. They don't limit the people. They don't say that where you have to work, what you have to do. They just give them the work, and they get brilliant ideas. And we have to do the same thing as corporate houses. We have to do the same thing with our young students in the campuses. Look at what they're doing with, UCLA and, so on and so forth. All these big companies, they're always there in the campuses. So I think we have to nurture the ideas and be open to experiment with anything. So that's my take on this. Thank you.
Excellent point, Madam, in the sense you brought out that leaderships have to understand the generation next and have this open-mindedness. And you also touched the point of orientation towards solutions and customer orientation. I think these are the key requirements and attitudes that leaderships need to have if they want to undertake this journey of business excellence using technology. And having a young workforce itself is a different ball game, and that adaptability is something which you are pointing out. Very nice. Thank you so much. Vasudevan sir, to you, my question is digital technology and cloud technology. You have dealt with them all in financial and insurance sectors. During your leadership roles in organizations like Wipro, how did the key stakeholders benefit from technology? When I say key stakeholders, is it only a tool that helped the organization improve excellence, efficiency, or the stakeholders like consumers, employees, also did they get the required benefits from this adaptation?
Okay, so very interesting question though, right? After worked with close to about 100 financial services organization in the world, right? I would call the stakeholders slightly different in digital context. So they are called as personas. Okay, so the stakeholders are called personas, right? The personas are maybe CXOs or COOs or CQOs or data officer, whatever, right? So I would call the personas as the one stakeholder, and the consumer like us. Okay, when I say I like us, the common people or employees, right? If there's a consumer, they're also kind of a stakeholder. How this both get a benefit in the digital transformations, right? When I say digital, it obviously underlies the cloud also with that, right? So if you see the transformation, okay, across the world, the personas have broadly 5 problems, right? You take any industry, any part of the world, right? Healthcare, retail, manufacturing, finance, any kind of industry, you know, Africa, US, and Australia, any kind of the geography, right? One is that they are pressured with the revenue making. Okay, the CEOs are pressured to kind of make a increased revenue. Okay, second, the CEOs as a collective responsibilities to minimize the capex. Okay, can I implement the cloud to kind of minimize my capex? Should I ask for a 10 million or should I ask for a 1 million, manage it, whatever the capex, right? The third is the cost pressure. Okay, what is that I should do kind of minimize the cost pressure, increase my profit, okay, pass on the benefit to make the customer happy. Then the cost pressure, right? The fourth is, of course, the important aspect of business acquisition, customer retention, and customer acquisition. How do I make the customer happy? Okay, what kind of technology I can provide? What kind of cool thing that I can provide to kind of retain my customer and increase my business portfolio, which is I called as a per person portfolio. Okay. Right? So the important aspect is businesses to kind of retain the business, existing business, as well as add the more business, right? And of course, the fifth is the error-free, flawless delivery, you know, to kind of retain my customer, right? Without any regulatory issues, without any fraud-related, you know, penalties and all that. Okay, how do I make a customer really experience happy so that they kind of stay with me? That's the broader 5 aspect in, you know, in industry verticals across the globe is happening, right? And digital and cloud takes care of that. This is exactly the 5 things, digital and you know, cloud takes care of that, irrespective of you know, whichever the vertical, whatever, right? So that's the one part of it. Okay, your second question, you know, Ari, right? As a consumer, how we benefit, right? So I can give one or two examples, right? So if you have kids and you want to kind of give a credit card, right? And they can blow up the money, right? So how do I kind of monitor this money of this spend? Right? If you have 5 kids and you give 5 credit cards, they can blow up, right? You want to control as a parent, right? It's like a TV, you can have a parent control. Okay, there are organizations, there are banks that come up with an option. You just go manage their credit card spending limits and amounts, right? If I want to kind of tell my daughter, you are not allowed to spend more than, you know, $20 in a day, right? I can go and click a button and then specify the limit. Right, that's a very simple thing, right? Yeah, the second. That's
a very good control. I should also exercise.
Yeah. Right. The second thing, of course, is very interesting. Yesterday we were kind of trying to test this rapid antigen test. What it is, right? Everybody is kind of saying what it is. I want to kind of try this, you know, for the purpose of this presentation, right? And very interesting, a small piece of device, okay, the technology called AI, okay, create a beautiful report. Okay, the reduction of the panic all over the world. Okay, that's the second one. right? The consumer, normal, ordinary consumer, you pay $2-3, get the device, the test is you are confirmed whether you are COVID or not. Okay, rest assured, right? That's a consumer part of it. The third one, of course, it is simple. We used to kind of deal with in the corporate, the claims management, expense management, meeting organizations, and collaboration, and all that, right? Too much of effort involved. Now there's a collaborative platform, right? You can do a almost paperless transaction in the expense management. Okay, the collaborative platform.
I believe the insurance sector benefited
Oh yeah, extensively. Yeah, extensively, right? The kind of transformation that the insurance claim process has gone through. You can predict exactly what is the damage of the claim. Okay, if a car or somebody met with an accident, you don't need to kind of send the investigator to analyze what is the kind of a damage. The AI will take care of, okay, this is the speed, this is the technology, or this is the road, this is the dimension, this is the angle, this is what has happened. The damage is a valid damage or whatever, right? So the world of technology, okay, it is no more staying with the elite. It is reaching real to the common people.
Last
Right?
mile.
That's the purpose of the technology. Unlike a few years back in generation X and Y, okay, the technology related for people like us, who are technology graduate and all that. Now the technology is to common people. Okay, that way, not only the personas of the organization and bank benefits, but also the common people like a consumer like us have a great benefit. Ari, back to you.
Thank you so much. I think the use of technology could be probably in few hands, but the beneficiaries of technology has been the last mile, person who's there. That's a very nice. You gave excellent examples, Mr. Vasudevan. Now I go to Mr. Antapreet Singh. From setting up ERP system in Fujitsu, the Japanese giant, more than 2 decades back, and setting up centers like Digital Campus in ISB and EdTech outfits. How do you see the journey in technology, and what are the current top trending technologies, favorites that organizations are actually embracing, if they are actually looking at business excellence and performance improvements and competitive advantages?
So I started, I would say that was in 1992. I mean, I was 7 years into my career, and I joined, that was immediately after 1992 liberalization. Fujitsu was...
and you are in the pure manufacturing.
Fujitsu was electronics manufacturing, digital exchanges, and that was a 51%, rather 76%, because they later increased the stake to 76%. And it was immediately after 1992 when liberalization was announced. And in fact, when Dr. Manmohan Singh was there in Japan, so the chairman of Fujitsu announced that we are coming to India with our own this thing. So I had an opportunity to work directly with Japanese, and that's where and intensively trained in Japan. So the ERP system, which was called Advanced Manufacturing Management System, AMAS, and that was the time when these were client-server technologies. You will run executables from same premises. I mean, it was a client-server kind of a technology, on-premises kind of technologies. So the changes which I have seen, and now we've come a long way, 30 years, 3 decades. Today it is, I mean, you don't even have to build the capital expenditure. No business case is to be built. It's an OPEX. You want to use it only for 6 months, rent the software and use it, and then you can even, you don't own the asset. So these CFOs will be taking a lot of time when you say I have to buy an asset. But if you say it's a revenue expense, it will be part of my cost of sales. And then there is no issue. So that is a major change which has happened, that we've now, from the on-premises software, now software has become a service. I mean, I now even teach human capital as a service. You even can have specialists in finance, in marketing, in HR, outside your company. Of course, I mean, that's a different trajectory altogether. So this has been a major evolution. And now with the cloud, this thing, I mean, we have the whole digital infra part has moved to the cloud. You as a user, whatever you require, you can pay the rental, you can use it, you can have some use cases customized as per requirement. So this is the journey. I mean, I know we are running short of time, so I won't take long. I mean, this has been a massive transformation.
Yeah, but your point of from capex level to sort of a revenue expenditure has been the biggest breakthrough during your 3 decades of seeing of technology, and outsourcing is the current buzzword also of technology, tech infra.
But yeah, I would say this is not even outsourcing. This is you are just. I mean, you are using the software. You are owning it,
and it's available there.
It is available. You are owning it for some time. Just like you go to some city and you rent a car. You are owning a car for 3 days, then you return it. So I mean, you drove it. You didn't hire a driver. Also, you drove it. And in the same way, you use it. And when you don't require it or you've moved on to something else, you don't use it. So that has been a fascinating journey, I would say. So that has been a massive transformation. I could not have imagined in 1992 that 30 years later, things will change so much. And you have now every solution available as the software as a service, platform as a service. So that's been a very, very, very fascinating journey.
Yeah, I think I'll ask the technologist expert, Cherished ma'am. What I mean, taking from where Mr. Untapped left, emerging technological tools. What are your 2-3 technological tools which can bring big delta improvement in operations, efficiencies, organizations' favorites these days? What according to you are these?
Thank you so much for the question. So to me, the technological advancement that has brought us over here is 3 things. One is the cloud platform, wherein I need not invest big money in the beginning, and I can have a elastic capacity. Because if you look at the big data, I mean, the second one is the big data, data and big data. Data is the new currency that the organizations are going to have. So if they have more data, they can do some, what Michael talked about. I would have never thought about it before coming to this, so that, this can be done. So there are different business models possible with the AI, ML, with the mundane tools of robotic process automation, which is going to be a big bet in my view. They, along with the machine learning algorithms of the Python and R programming, I think they are going to be the big bets. The big data platforms are transforming the NoSQL databases, the kind of stuffs they're able to do, the kind of performance they're able to give us, the kind of economical price they're serviced at. That is going to be the key. In my view, the coding skills requirements have come down drastically from the time in early 90s I started my career. Now it is more of plug and play. And I feel my brother, who is a doctor, my another brother who is a civil engineer, probably they can do more coding and they can do much better than the computer science students today. So it is, the technology is going to be omnipresent. It is going to be kind of less relevant. When I'm saying less relevant, it is going to be present everywhere, that people are not going to talk about it anymore. It is there, but it is going to be more language agnostic. It is going to be more plug and play. It is kind of buying insurance from the platform provider. So I no more own all the responsibility of developing my application and deploying it. I take the partnership of the platform provider, of the tools technology providers, to take it to my customers. So my risk is much less. So that's where the world is heading in my view. Thank you. Over to you.
Great. Plug and play. Yeah. Mr. Michael, you speak to a lot of leaders. When I say leaders, you speak to corporate leaders, government leaders. Is there a marked change in leaders' approach to embracing technology to achieve efficiencies?
I would say the pandemic has accelerated that. So leaders right now, whether they like it or not, especially leaders in governments, in a context of Malaysia, the hardest leaders to change are leaders in government. I'm not talking about the politicians. I'm talking about leaders who have been in government machineries for decades. It's the hardest to change them. But I think with this pandemic, it has accelerated that. It has basically forced us to adopt new lifestyles. So instead of looking at whatever changes that this pandemic has ushered in as a threat, our company, Thriving Talents, we started thinking about how do we marry whatever changes in people's expectations, whatever changes in people's way of how they want to experience things. We're talking about the metaverse, right? People are now already talking about having a split life where you have a life in reality and then you have another life in the metaverse, where you could buy land in the metaverse. You could actually go for concerts in the metaverse, right? Create your community in the metaverse. So when Mark Zuckerberg announced the metaverse, my team and I started thinking, what can we do in the work that we do, delivering team buildings, employee engagements, our keynote seminars? How do we reimagine it being delivered in the metaverse? So I think if you're asking me what is the marked change that I've witnessed among leaders, for corporate leaders, yes, they are forced to change. I do find companies that are of multinational in nature, they tend to be more updated because they have to. But for leaders in governments, I think the pandemic has forced them to change because they're seeing that people in Malaysia in particular, they're no longer buying things using cash. We are now cashless. We're buying things using a lot of digital currencies. We're buying things using a direct debit from our bank accounts, So I think the pandemic has accelerated the adoption of these new lifestyles.
Yeah, surely. I think friendship with technology became much faster thanks to pandemic. Well, I have one question for all the panelists. Business excellence is in a way, is a journey towards best returns to all stakeholders using quality. When you think about business excellence, what, according to you, what is your short prescription for organizations to achieve business excellence using one or two technological tools? Vasdevan sir, you want to go first?
See, sometimes students or young entrepreneurs understand the business excellence to be a narrow frame, right? My prescription to some of the new entrepreneurs is 3 P's. Okay, people, process, and platform. Right? So you cannot really separate each other. Okay, the 3 P's are intertwined components of a digital business, and a digital business is going to rule the world for at least next 10, 20, 40 years, right? So when I see the books and other things that whether the process management is the best in business excellence or people management, I'm a little bit puzzled because it's a combination of all three, right? Now, can you drive a beautiful Amar car, okay, on a bullock cart? The wheel is a bullock cart, but a nicely manufactured Amar car, right? No, not useful, right? So you need to have a fantastic process, reimagined process. At the same time, you should have a fantastic infrastructure like a cloud, the platform, right? Okay, so I have a fantastic people. I have a fantastic people whom I trained on PySkill or cross-skill, right? What do they use if the individual does not understand the business domain? Right, so it's a combination of 3 P's, okay, which is the people, process, and the platform. Right?
Platform.
So that's the one prescription I say. You transform your organization, you transform your business. Okay, all the three kind of combination. That's a short prescription I would give Ali.
Mr. Singh, your prescription for business excellence through technology.
Yeah, so in my view, business excellence is a journey. It's not, you can't say today I have achieved business excellence in an organization, just like
Absolutely.
happiness. I can't say that now I have achieved all the happiness I wanted in my life today. It's a journey. And two things are very important. One is from the digital transformation context, I say digitalization, which is strategic, which is transformational, which is transforming your business model, which is a strategy for next 2-3 years. Because now I don't talk of 5-7 years. COVID-19 has taught us that short long term is not that long, and the short term is very short.
It's a sequence of short terms.
It is the sequence of short term. And the second part is the tactical, strategic and tactical, which is digitization. Then you come down to processes. Then you try to automate processes. You give some task to AI. You give some job to AI. Without losing the ethical context. So excellence in my way is a product of both digitalization and digitization, or in other words, it's a product of strategic and tactical, and it is a journey. I mean, the excellence is never a goal. That we must keep in mind. We keep becoming better and better. We can never become best. There is no company in the world which can claim today that we are the best. Rhetoric is fine, but they will also be wanting to improve further. Thanks.
Be better than yesterday is what business excellence talks. I think that's one of the PBM models of business excellence. Mr. Michael, your prescription for excellence?
My prescription for excellence would be, how do we leverage on technological platforms to manage our businesses to be a lot leaner? Hence, we are able to increase our margins of profits. But when we increase our margins of profits, as much as we are leveraging on technology to do so, it's very important for us to use those margins, not only to ensure that our shareholders are happy, but to return bigger investments to take care of the welfare of, I will call this the ESGs, the welfare of our environment, being a more responsible company, the welfare S, ESG, S for society. How do we take care of our society? Society here could be with the better returns, with the better margins. How do we take care of our employees? How do we take care of our employees' family, right? And then lastly, ESG, G is for governance. How do we use technology to ensure that we are able to govern, to run our company more transparently, we're able to run our company more progressively, and we are able to run our company more ethically. I believe this would be my definition of using whatever technology platforms you may have, as long as you bring the cost down, but scale the good impact, contribute to the ESGs, environment, right? Society, right? And also governance, right? Then you should be on your way to truly become an excellent business.
Ma'am, just remember your quick prescription.
I think I would go with the same thing. It's the platform, the process, and the people. So the platform and the process, I think we have talked about. I'll just touch upon a little bit on the people. I think it is good as a business leader not to fight things that are obvious. Like, for example, if I'm having a lot of young employees in my company, they are going to get married, they are going to have young children, they will have their attention divided between the two. If I have a lot of middle-aged people as my workforce, they are going to take care of their aging parents, their health conditions, and so on and so forth. So I think we have to have more communication between the management and the people, because they say that excellence or the quality happens where the work happens. And today the work is happening in the minds of most of the people, the workforce. So we have to take care of not only their health, the physical health, the mental health, the emotional aspects of their health. And being a woman leader, I must say that most of the women workforce, which probably is 50% of the workforce in India, they're extremely committed, extremely smart individuals, but they give up their career because there is no support from the management or there is no role. So I would advise the organizations, the businesses, to create more flexible roles, which can be taken up by these women who are, having family, young children to take care of, but their excellence has not gone away. So I would say that yes, there is the platform is required, there is the governance is required, there is the process, and the people aspect is going to be extremely paramount going forward, because people have different aspirations and expectations from the businesses going forward. So thank you. Over to you.
Great. I think I'm not sure whether we have much time to take questions, but if I have to see the question box here, there is a question from what is the role of Prithviraj is asking, what is the role of agile methodology, and how is Internet of Things going to shape up the corporates? Two questions on technology and Internet of Things. One of you can take this question. Ma'am, you can take that.
Yes, I can tell what is happening with the IoT space. There are my customers who are doing really interesting stuffs with the IoT. I mean, it's all around us. So there is a customer who does works in the genetic modification space. So they have these devices that are attached to the crops when they're growing, so that they can collect the data, so that they're not dependent on physically going and monitoring and doing all that. So I think one example Vasu also talked about, there is a small device and then you can do a lot of stuff. We have customers who are into the manufacturing space, wherein they're automating the manufacturing processes, so they can even check the smallest of deterioration of the bolts or the nuts in the devices, that can send them this signal, so they know what is going to happen or what is happening with the device, when it is going to fall short of the production capability and stuff. So there is all around us, there is a lot of interesting things happening. Agile is the way, because we have to like when I started my career, probably it was taking 2 years of life cycle for releasing your product. Now it is every single day. I think all these young students who are listening to these conversations, they see new features being added in Facebook and Instagram and stuff every single day. The DevOps, that's the next step. I think we can have this conversation maybe in another context, how we have made the journey from the the agile to now we are talking about DevOps, wherein you can have a seamless deployment of applications during the day multiple times. So very interesting questions. I think very interesting thoughts. So we can take up that discussion. So again,
yeah. I'm sure GIBS will have another occasion where we have a much longer time where we can discuss on each and every element. With the paucity of time, I want to conclude this extremely useful panel discussion, having all the 4 experts from their diverse fields. One thought of excellence actually has come from none other than Aristotle, who said excellence is an art won by training and habituation. I think that habit formation is something as a process that Vasu sir spoke. And again, a person like Albert Einstein said, if you always do what you always did, you will always get the result what you always got. So you need to try innovation and new technologies. All the 3 panelists, 4 panelists have talked about adapting and trying new things. And as William Edwards Deming said, a bad system will beat a good person every time. So you need to keep on revisiting your system. Technology has come in a very big way to help businesses reach excellence, organizations reach competences. With those closing lines, I thank the esteemed panelists, Mr. Antaprit Singh, Vasu, Madam Jayashree, and Mr. Michael, all the way from Malaysia. Thanks to the technology again. And I hand over to Mrs. Lakshmi to do the closing remarks.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was really wonderful to listen to you all, and I realized that it is already the end of the session. It was so informative. Thank you so much. My heartfelt thanks to Hari Prakash sir, Michael Theo sir, Vasudevan sir, Jayashri ma'am, Antarpreet Singh sir for all the inputs and support. Thanks for accepting the invitation and making this panel discussion a thought-provoking one. And thanks once again. I must mention my deepest sense of gratitude for the management. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Ritesh Goyal, our MD, GIBS, for all the support and encouragement. I thank Pradeep sir and Mujib Shah, who's the coordinator of this program, Mr. Arun, for the IT admin, for extended support. And I also thank all the staff members and participants of the day for your participation and for being so wonderful. Thank you, one and all. And before I wind up, let me share the upcoming webinars, the details that we have. We have a webinar on LinkedIn for how to use LinkedIn for effective career management by Mr. Surya Prakash Mohapatra, Global Head Talent Transformation and Learning and Development, Pro Digital Relations and the webinar is scheduled on 28th of this month, that's February, at 4 p.m. And please do register and encourage us to deliver more such programs. And the certificate for today's MDP will be sent to your registered ID by latest by Monday evening. I take this opportunity again and thank all the panelists for making it wonderful. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, madam. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.